Welcome everyone, Ironbeard here with another Reforger Resource video, and today I'm joined by my buddy and fellow community member, Bacon Body Odor, who's going to help me with addressing one of the biggest pain points in Arma Reforger for new and veteran players alike, navigation. If you don't already know, Arma Reforger takes place during the 1980s before GPS and other fancy gadgets were in widespread use. And because Bohemia Interactive are shooting for total immersion, the typical HUD elements that we've grown accustomed to are minimized down to only the bare essentials. This means that navigation, among other things, is intended to be done via the tools provided to us in-game, which are the map and the compass. So in today's video, we're going to teach you how to use your compass and tools to triangulate your position for land navigation, in addition to my own method for navigating in a vehicle so you never get lost again. To demonstrate this, we'll be using Bacon Body Odor's custom-built orienteering scenario, which you can download from the workshop to follow along and practice the concepts we'll be teaching today. More about this scenario later. Now, let's dive deeper into the indispensable tool of every soldier's kit, the compass. In Arma Reforger, mastering the use of a compass is essential for navigating the vast landscapes of Arland and Everon. With it, you can call out targets to your teammates, as well as find your way through strategic routes or objectives. To bring out your compass, press K by default, or hold D-pad up on Xbox. Here, you'll see your headings of north, south, east, and west, and that black line indicates your current heading in relation to the other directions. The compass for the Soviet faction is in Cyrillic, but laid out much the same way, except without the outer radius numbers available on the US compass. The orange arrow points to north, while west is to the left and east is to the right, so on and so forth. The numbers on the inner radius of the compass indicate your azimuth in degrees ranging from 0 to 360 degrees. This is primarily used for navigation by land, triangulation, which we'll cover in a bit, and calling out targets on the battlefield to those around you. The numbers on the outer radius of the US compass are known as milliradians, or mils for short. While they're not directly related to navigation, they're worth mentioning, especially for our mortar operators out there. Mils provide a finer degree of precision, particularly when calculating firing solutions for indirect fire missions, which will have to be a topic for another video. In Arma Reforger, you'll be using your compass a lot, especially for triangulation. But before we learn how to do that, we need to get to know the features of our map first.
Understanding the features on your map is key to effective navigation and mission planning in the game. The first thing to know is that your map is divided into eastings and northings, also known as grid coordinates, which are these square boxes that are read from left to right. These numeric codes provide a precise way to pinpoint specific grid sections on the map. When determining a grid location, the numbers for the vertical lines, or eastings, are read first, and the horizontal lines, or northings, are read last. Combining these two numbers together will give you the grid coordinates for the section located immediately to the right and top of the lines. For example, this grid here is read as 056, 058. So, if someone says that they found an enemy MHQ at grid 066, 061, you find it by locating easting 066 and northing 061. This is the grid they are referring to. Supporting the grid coordinates are the grid lines, which divide the map into easily navigable sections. In Arma Reforger, grid lines are spaced at intervals of 100 meters for close-range precision and 1 kilometer for broader navigation. These lines serve as a visual aid for measuring distances and determining your position relative to key landmarks. Next, we have icons, a visual representation of various features and objects on the map. From objectives, points of interest, and terrain features, icons provide vital information at a glance. Refer to the field manual for a legend of the icons and their meanings, so you can interpret the map with ease during intense missions. Map markers are a way you can communicate with your team about potential enemy positions, a rendezvous point, or important objectives, as well as act as your personal waypoints, allowing you to mark specific locations of interest on the map that you could use for navigation. Finally, let's talk about the tools at your disposal. The protractor, pencil, and compass are your trusted companions for accurate navigation and tactical planning. The protractor is indispensable for measuring angles, distances, and plotting courses on the map. The humble pencil may seem unassuming, but its role in map marking cannot be overstated. Use it to draw lines from point to point, keeping your paths organized. Don't worry about privacy though. The markings you make with the pencil tool are private and are only seen by you. And of course, we can't forget about the trusted compass. As we've discussed earlier, the compass is your guiding light in the field, helping you to maintain your bearings and navigate with confidence through any terrain. All of these tools can be opened on the map at the same time for various situations. With a thorough understanding of these map features and tools, you'll be well equipped to navigate the challenging landscapes of Arma Reforger and lead your squad to victory. Or more likely, simply find your way back to your squad leader. So, grab your map, gather your team, and let's march forward into the fray.
Triangulation is the art of figuring out where you are on the map with some degree of accuracy. By triangulating your position, you can determine the headings you need to make for navigation, as well as accurate distances for zeroing in your weapons using the protractor tool, which we'll discuss in a bit. Triangulation begins by identifying at least 2 distinct points of interest, or POIs, within your surroundings. The more, the better. These could be prominent landmarks, recognizable structures, or any other distinguishable features that you can easily pinpoint both on the terrain and find on your map. Once you've located these points of interest in the game world, it's time for you to find them on your map. Open up your map interface and carefully scan the area until you locate the corresponding landmarks. This step is crucial for accurately determining your position relative to the terrain. With the POIs identified on the map, use your map markers to pinpoint their exact locations. Placing markers ensures that you have clear reference points to work with as you proceed with the triangulation process. Now comes the pivotal step of using your compass to determine the reverse bearings of the points of interest. Using your compass, press the right mouse button or tap left trigger on Xbox to aim down sights or ADS and align the sight to each point of interest. Take note of the reverse bearing direction and update your map markers with this information. These bearings will serve as the basis for triangulating your position. With the bearings recorded and markings updated, it's time to bust out your protractor. Move the center of your protractor to the point of interest and use your pencil tool to draw a line on the map from each point of interest, extending it in the direction of its corresponding reverse bearing. And there you have it. Where those lines intersect is your approximate location on the map. This method of triangulation allows you to pinpoint your position with remarkable accuracy, even in the most challenging terrain. Now that you know where you are, it's time to navigate around the map on foot.
Land navigation in Arma Reforger can be pretty simple once you get the hang of it. In most cases, your first step is to identify key features and points of interest in your surroundings so you can determine where you are. One effective strategy is to simply gain as much altitude as possible for a better position to view your surroundings, because climbing to higher ground provides a broader perspective, allowing you to spot landmarks, identify terrain features, and plan your route with greater clarity. With your surroundings assessed, it's time to determine your approximate location on the map by using the triangulation technique discussed earlier. After you discover your position, use your tools to plot your route with the pencil tool and determine the headings to your intended destination with the protractor. For example, I like to move from landmark to landmark, and sometimes those landmarks are simple houses, intersections, or effigies. Using the pencil, I'll draw a route from one location to another, and with the protractor, I can determine which bearings I need to take. In this case, I'll use private map markers to remind me that I'm heading bearing 70 degrees to the utility building, then heading bearing 37 degrees to the destination. Pay attention to natural landmarks and terrain cues to ensure you stay on track. Check your course periodically, especially after navigating around obstacles or hazards. If you're more ambitious, you could also use the protractor to determine the distances you'll be traveling between each waypoint by rotating it with the middle mouse button, or hold right bumper plus right stick on Xbox and using the ruler, which is in 10-meter increments. This is also a great way to zero in your weapons, grenade launchers, or RPGs if you find yourself in a firefight and you know your position relative to the enemy. When it comes to navigating the expansive terrain of Arma Reforger from the driver's seat, Ironbeard has honed in a method that ensures efficiency and precision.
When it comes to traversing Arland or Everon behind the wheel, mastering the art of vehicle navigation is essential for getting to important destinations quickly, particularly when going through enemy territory, since stopping to figure out where you are is a great way to get killed. While not necessarily conventional, I've come up with my own method that has reliably taken me to wherever I needed to go that I'd like to share with you today. Navigating in a vehicle is a little bit different than on land, because the paths we're able to take are limited to the road network when obstacles such as forests and stumps or boulders are present. Like with navigating on land, the first thing we need to do is determine our location using the techniques described earlier. With your location identified, it's time to plan your route. Consider mission objectives, terrain features, back roads, and potential threats or enemy strongholds to determine the most appropriate path to your destination. What I like to do is use the pencil tool on the map to draw out a quote-unquote intersection route that I intend to follow. For example, what I'm looking for are the major turns at key locations. I then resize the map to ensure the full route is visible at a glance. This allows me to quickly reference the planned route and follow along while keeping my focus on the road ahead. Pay close attention to the terrain and landmarks around you. I'll then count my turns and keep them in mind, such as the second road to the left, then take my first right, as well as trying to remember significant landmarks along the route. In most cases, this will be enough to get me to my destination. However, if I forget a turn or two, I can usually look at my route at a glance without taking my eyes off the road for too long. And here we are. My advice is to practice this method by going to random locations across the island until it becomes second nature, which is a great time to introduce you to the orienteering scenario, an immersive companion experience designed to hone your navigation skills to perfection, plus something a little extra spicy.
Created as a companion to this video, the orienteering scenario provides a hands-on opportunity to practice the methods taught here. With randomized locations scattered across the map, you'll need to rely on your navigation prowess to reach each objective, both on foot and behind the wheel of a vehicle. The beauty of the orienteering scenario lies in its versatility. You can play it solo and single player, team up with friends in co-op, or engage in intense competitive PvP. And PvP is where things can get especially interesting. Everyone starts out unarmed in a lobby area where players can coordinate with their teams and smack talk each other before heading out. As you reach the first objective, the next waypoint is revealed, so on and so forth. First to reach the final objective wins. So here's the backstory. It's 1989 and you're competing in the Orienteering International Championship, the most prestigious event in the orienteering world. The Cold War goes hot, right at Everon, where this year's international title is being held. Worst of all, the front lines are between you and the finish line. Will you work with your opponents to get to the finish, or have your opponents become another hostile entity? This race may become a thrilling game of survival reminiscent of the Hunger Games. So, when you're ready to put your skills to the test, don't hesitate to dive into the orienteering scenario.
And once you develop this skill, you'll never get lost again. Alright, you're gonna see a tree.
Then a house to the left.
Yeah, I see it.
Great. Keep going through the barn area. The cache is just on the other side.
I don't think this is it.
Oh, oops. I was reading the map upside down.
You'll definitely want to head north, otherwise you'll run into Soviets.